Christian Ponder. Well, from here on out, we'll be talking about games, not just practices. The preseason opener is next Friday night at home against the Houston Texans at Mall of America Field. In the meantime, the beat goes on in Mankato, where the team reported a week ago, Thursday. It may seem as if time stands still for these guys in their dorm rooms over the 3-week period, but I can't believe it's already August 4th and football is on the horizon. After all these years of one soap opera or another at camp, and it's been a long string of them, so far it's been exactly the way head coach Leslie Frazier has wanted it. Pretty well uneventful for the media, with plenty of players to evaluate in the next 2 weeks in Mankato. One man enjoying his day off from camp in Mankato is beat reporter Ben Gessling from the St. Paul Pioneer Press. And Ben, welcome to the show. Welcome back again.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Glad to be back.
I'm never sure how media folks are supposed to gauge the progress of an NFL team in camp. Are you getting the same sense that Leslie Frazier is, that he's pleased with the overall first work week so far?
Yeah, I mean, I think they've gotten done the things that they want to get done. So from that perspective, he's got to be pleased with it. But yeah, it is hard to tell at this point because they're not facing live defenders. Everything is kind of in a controlled setting. It's good to see players get some work in and see them kind of develop in that sense. But we won't really know anything for a couple more weeks yet. And I think even when you get into preseason games, you have to take some of that with a grain of salt.
And that's a good point. I talked to Leslie about this last week. It seems like there's going to be a higher premium on these practice sessions for evaluation and timing. I don't anticipate seeing a lot of these starters in any of these preseason games. Maybe there's just too much money at stake. They're going to bubble wrap a lot of these guys. So does most of the evaluation in your mind also take place at these practices, even for the guys who are trying to make the team?
Well, it's a tricky part of being a coach in this day and age because they practice less than they used to. The new collective bargaining agreement kind of stipulates how much they can do there. I mean, the third preseason game is kind of when you typically see your starters for at least a half, and they'll get a look at some of these guys. But I mean, the thing for them in a lot of these cases is figuring out who the backups are going to be. They have most of their starters on defense back. They know kind of who's going to be in place, certainly on the offensive line, in the offensive backfield, and there's a few spots open at receiver. But so the preseason games give you a chance to develop and evaluate some guys that maybe are kind of on the fringes of things. But yeah, it is harder to do just because you have so much less time than you used to.
Yeah, morning practices are nothing but walkthroughs. Those two-a-days really aren't two-a-days anymore. And to call it a passing scrimmage might be overstating it a little bit, but it was a fun session under the lights where they sold out crowd, and always amazing to see how many people show up. What were your impressions of Ponder and working with his receiving corps here last night?
No, last night he looked as good as we've seen him the entire time. I think it was 12 for 15 in full team situations, threw a touchdown, threw one interception. He kind of threw behind Greg Jennings, got picked off by Marcus Sherrills. But the highlight of the night was a deep ball here to Jerome Simpson. That was probably the best throw I've seen him make in camp, and that's something they want to see a lot more from both Ponder on that end and Jerome Simpson on that end. When you have Adrian Peterson attracting as much attention as he does, they want to be able to take advantage of that, and he showed there that he could.
That's John Carlson, who was pretty much invisible last year, got hurt, and now is also adding to what Kyle Rudolph's supposed to be doing this year.
Yeah, he had a couple touchdowns last night in the scrimmage, and they've actually been using him a little bit as an H-back. I mean, I think they want to see him a little bit more in the passing game, and when Kyle Rudolph has been as assertive as he's been, both as a pass catcher and a run blocker, you have to find other ways to get John Carlson involved. So we could see him in situations like that, coming out of the backfield as a pass-catching threat.
Matt Castle in as well. Jerome Simpson has a lot to prove this year. I mean, he was a guy that was supposed to extend their passing game last year. We know it didn't work out, got suspended. And then when he played, he got hurt, so we never really got a chance to see that guy. I mean, how much are they counting on that guy to be with Jennings and the rest of the bunch this year? Well,
I mean, they're probably counting on him a little less just from the fact that they have a little more depth at that position than they've had. He's not coming in as the guy that's expected to carry the load. That's Greg Jennings now. But it is a big year for Jerome Simpson just to prove that he can do it and to prove that he can still earn a multi-year contract. He's talked about that a few times, wanting that multi-year deal from either the Vikings or somebody. But yeah, it's certainly a big year to prove that he can stay on the field, that he can be the deep threat that they've wanted him to be, and that he can be consistent enough to be counted on as something more than a number 3 receiver who makes a nice catch once in a while.
You go back to Greg Jennings, 425 career receptions, the leader of the pack, was the leader of the pack. Interesting camp. He took some verbal swipes at number 12, Aaron Rodgers of Green Bay, then backed off the comments. Leslie Frazier took him behind the old woodshed and shoot him out a little bit. And then he said those comments were kind of in jest. And then he's been also throwing a lot of verbal bouquets in Christian Ponder's direction. What do you make of all this?
Well, it's been interesting with Jennings. I think first with him and Aaron Rodgers, they're both very media-savvy guys. I think they both know how to take a little bit of a jab at each other and pass it off as, oh, hey, I was just joking. I think there's a little bit of truth in all of that. So Greg Jennings has kind of played that game and knows that he can get away with it a little bit. He kind of likes to be seen as one of the good guys, and I think he is one of the good guys, but he also has some things he wants to say about Aaron Rodgers. As far as Christian Ponder goes, he's taken a lot of his reputation and a lot of the rest of his prime on Christian Ponder, so some of this is to try to send some messages to Christian Ponder saying, hey, you got to trust yourself a little bit, don't think so much, don't make it so academic, and he's certainly got an interesting way of communicating with him, and Ponder, from my conversations with him, appreciates the presence Greg Jennings brings to the whole thing.
It will be interesting to read their body language during the course of the season, because we don't have the microphones on them, and when they talk to each other on the sidelines, if he overthrows or misreads something, how that's going to transpire, because we'll be asking him all those questions after the game.
Yeah, and we go back to the interception last night. The throw that Ponder made was well behind Jennings. It was an easy pick for Marcus Sherrills. I would venture to guess he hasn't seen too many throws like that from Aaron Rodgers in the last few years. Maybe Brett Favre when he was back in his kind of, I'm going to try to make a play.
Favre day.
Yeah, I'm going to do what I have to do and try to make a play, devil may care. But that is going to be interesting to see if it's week 5, week 6, and they're struggling, and is he as supportive of Christian Ponder as he's been so far?
Adrian Peterson, we all know, a year ago was held out of pretty much every drill in camp and all the preseason games. Much different feel this year. Adrian has been outspoken about everything from testing for HGH to the new helmet rule to 2,500 yards rushing. We've learned never to doubt this guy, Ben. At the same time, Adrian also knows the better balanced his team is, the more wins they will have. Do you have to be cautious about how you report Adrian's personal goals and interpret that they're more important than the team's success? Because people ask him those questions, and rightfully so.
Well, and he said that too. He said he kind of throws things out there, and then people kind of take it and run with it. I think the thing you have to remember with Adrian is his kind of driving force is a relentless amount of positivity. He honestly does not believe that there's anything that's out of his reach. So when he says 2,500 yards, it's almost a challenge to himself to say, well, how hard can I work? How much can I get done this year? And if I don't get there, if I don't get to 2,500, if I get to 1,800, 2,000, whatever the number is, it's something to motivate him to do his best and to get as far as he can. So whether the number actually happens or not, I don't know. And I think he would admit that.
And that's the perspective the fans should be taking this in as well. I mean, look at the draft. This year they got Sharif Floyd, Cordell Patterson, Xavier Rhodes. Last year with Matt Khalil, Harrison Smith, Josh Robinson, Blair Wallace. It's hard to top it. Khalil is arguably already one of the best offensive tackles in the NFC. You spent some time with Matt. His attempt to become bigger, stronger, faster, eating a lot more.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. He's almost got my metabolism, but he's twice my size. I mean, he basically says he has to eat 5,000–6,000 calories a day, or if he's working out and if he skips that kind of a diet for a couple days, he says he'll lose 5 to 7 pounds.
Wow.
It must be a nice thing to have.
Problem.
Yeah, so he's basically packing on as much food as he can. He takes 3 protein shakes a day that are 800 calories a piece, and he's eating 3 square meals and snacking all day and lifting weights and just trying to he's doing all this just to try to keep his weight up to where he wants to be for the season. So it's an interesting problem to have, but he certainly wants to do it the right way, to put on muscle and not just go to McDonald's and add fat just for the sake of adding fat.
He's a big boy. He's got good feet, as they say. The storylines in defensive linebacking spots: Aaron Henderson in the middle, Desmond Bishop on the outside. That's the way it looks like the season will begin. Aaron seems to have a positive chip on his shoulder, if you can use that term. Bishop missed all last season with a hamstring, but Aaron Henderson seems to be the guy in the middle right now. It's his job to lose. Yeah,
it is. And for all of the talk this offseason about, are they going to bring in Brian Urlacher, or are they going to bring in somebody else, it does seem to be as settled as it's been the entire spring and summer for him. It seems like he's going to be the guy there. They like Desmond Bishop on the outside. They like the fact that he can blitz the quarterback from that spot, but they also, I think, want to give Aaron Henderson a chance to prove he can do it, or possibly play himself out of it.
We got about 30 seconds to go. Michael Maute, is that how you pronounce his name from Penn State? Maute from Penn State. He's a 7th-round pick. He had the ACL surgeries. They're saying a lot of nice things about him down there. Is he coming along with him?
He had 3 knee surgeries at Penn State, so that's been a lot of what knocked him down, but a lot of the people that have evaluated him feel like had he not had that problem, he might have been a 2nd or 3rd round pick. So they're certainly interested in seeing what he can do.
Well, Ben, appreciate your insights as always. Enjoy your drive down 169. Don't get caught in that traffic snarl down there on the way down.
I got to avoid the Bloomington Ferry Bridge.
Around the way. Thanks for having me. Appreciate that. Ben Gessling of the St. Paul Pioneer Press. Coming up next on Sports Sunday. Well, actually later we're going to look at Chris Carter's Hall of Fame induction. We'll look back on his career and hear from CC himself. But first, she's the all-time leading scorer in team history, and the Lynx are having an incredible year this year. Simona Gusses joins us live in studio. That's coming up next. Stay with us. And welcome back to Rosen Rosen Sports Sunday. We are very pleased to have Minnesota Lynx all-star forward Simone Augustus with us in studio after their 18th straight home win dating back to last season, 90-72 over Seattle. I was a little worried, Simone, because earlier in the night I got reports that you were banged, got an illegal screen, got hit in the face, got in the nose, and oh my goodness, there goes my guest. You're looking good. Everything's good?
Thank you. Yes, everything's well.
That's good. You bounced right back and got in there. 16-3 record, 9-game winning streak. You've been with the Lynx since 2006, and you won a title here. Is this the best this team has ever played, the way you're playing right now?
I hope not. I hope we still got some levels to reach. I mean, we're a great team composed of great players, a great coaching staff that, works really hard to make sure that we at the top of our game every night.
Well, it seems like that's the way it's working out. There's no substitute for talent, but it seems like you've had to learn how to win as a team with unselfish players. Everyone was a star in your college team, respectively. How has that process been to learn what to do, what's best for the team, as opposed to just individual goals?
Just play your best basketball. I think Coach had a great pre-game talk the other night where she talked about being mediocre. And no one wants to be mediocre. Every player that we have in the locker room is a great player. So if you play your best basketball, then it takes a lot of pressure off of me, and I'm able to play my best basketball. And collectively, as a team, we can be a great team.
And that's what basketball is. It really is a team game. The Lynx played Seattle for the first time this season, a bit of odd scheduling, and it was no contest, at least early on from the opening tap, Simone. And really, the unsung part of it, I think, is an amazing job you guys have done on defense this year. That's the part of your team game that doesn't get as much publicity.
Yeah, and that's the hard work. That's the dirty work that people really don't talk about as much. But that's something that we pride ourselves on. That's when Coach Reeve came in to the Lynx organization. That was something that she prided herself on, making sure that we were one of the top teams on the defensive side of basketball.
Also, protecting home court. What is it about the Target Center for the fans? It seems to be in a really intimidating place. I mean, LA beat you guys up, at one point in their gym, and then you come right back here and do the same to them. But this is an amazing streak you got going.
Yeah, it's amazing because of the fans. They do a wonderful job of making the atmosphere in the Target Center a very tough place to play. They're loud, they're aggressive, they talk, they talk trash. They do whatever they have to do to knock the opposing team off their game. So we appreciate them coming out.
How do you avoid being overconfident when you step in the court in your own building? Does that start in that locker room again with that pregame sort of conversation?
Yeah, Coach Reeves does a great job of keeping us, level-headed, humbled, and knowing what we need to do, knowing to never settle for anything less. We know what our goal is, and we're going to keep striving to get there. You have won so many individual awards going back to high school in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, 3-time All-American at LSU, College Player of the Year, 2 Olympic gold medals. What keeps driving you at this point of your career when you've had so much success? When you have players like Lindsay Whalen, Maya Moore, Rebecca Bronson, Janelle McCarver around you, you have no other choice but to push yourself to new heights. If you see the way Whalen plays and the way Bronson plays and all those players, how they carry themselves night in and night out, I have to raise my level of play. Are you, in your own mind, a better basketball player now than you were in college and as good as you were in college? I think so. You mature over the course of some years. You're more patient. You see where you're more effective on the court. You have a great coach with you that's kind of pushing you and showing you ways to get better. And I feel like this is my best basketball. Did you play other sports at all growing up? I tried a few. I tried soccer, volleyball. I mean, you name it, I probably tried it. But basketball was your game. Did you ever feel this important at this point in your life, too, that once you started developing as one of the best in the country? I never knew. At the age of 5, my dad put the ball in my hand. It was just kind of like a hobby, a sport, and, probably for my parents some way to keep me out of trouble, keep me safe. So, but, I'm thankful and I'm blessed that, I'm able to be here and I've accomplished so much. Well, a lot yet to accomplish, as you mentioned as well. A number of the Lynx players, including yourself, go to Europe to play basketball, make some more money. Lindsay Whalen is one of those. You know this. As you mentioned her name, the local iconic figure here. What makes Lindsay so special to have as a teammate? You've seen both sides, but playing against her now with her as well. Just tough, her tenacity, her just knack to, just get after it. Every time we step on the court, even in practice, like what you see in the game is it's 10 times worse than practice, but she's making everyone else around her better with just the way she carries herself, and she's the toughest point guard in the WNBA. When you say tough, I mean, she does, you think of Lindsay being such a mellow person. That's what Minnesota people know her. Minnesota nice. No, not Minnesota. I mean, she is nice, don't get me wrong, but she played hockey, I heard, when she was younger, so she has that, that edge to her. Yeah, elbows. She can get after it. She's very aggressive. She doesn't have any fear. We don't see you guys much at practice in terms of without the video there. What's that like? I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on at practice as well. It's very chippy at practice. But luckily, we have some guys that come in and kind of help us out. out, so we get to beat up on them a little bit instead of beating up on each other.
Which is a good thing.
Yeah, which is a great thing.
You mentioned your coach, Cheryl Reeve. She's having a blast coaching this team. By all accounts, she doesn't let up for a minute in trying, as you mentioned, to get the best out of you guys. She has an understanding how to motivate you individually, yet how do you get the most out of your team? That's a tough balance to have, but you've gotten to know your coach pretty well over the last few years.
Yeah, she knows what buttons to push and when to push them to get what she wants out of you, which is a great thing. She knows, when not to push you as much if she feel like you're about to break, I guess.
Right.
But she's smart in her approach in the game and how she prepares us, and it's showing in our play, and it's showing in our record.
When you go back to last year, I mean, you losing in the WNBA Finals after winning the year before, how much is that stuck in your craw, and how much is using that as a motivating factor to get to where you want to be at the end of the summer?
It's very tough to think that we had an opportunity to win. We didn't. But it's also, like you said, a great motivator. We come back this year, we're fired up, 16-3, off to a wonderful start, and hopefully, our best basketball is yet to be played. What
have you enjoyed about living in the Twin Cities the most after coming here and being from Louisiana and getting used to the weather a little bit, although you don't play here in the wintertime, but what's it been like?
It's been great. I'm starting to get around a little bit. The food is a lot better. I know when I first got here, I was like, oh, the food is so bland, but I'm finding some spots that are really nice, and I kind of like the nice local parks like Lauren Park, Lake of the Isles area. I kind of get out and walk around with my dog and stuff.
Well, that's good, and you've become such role models. I mean, you understand the impact you've had on a lot of young girls in particular in this state, who not just basketball players, but just role models looking at the way you conduct yourselves.
Yeah, we try to do the best that we can to let the younger generation know that it's tough being in our position, but we welcome it. We try to keep ourselves in track and on focused on making sure we are that positive person in their lives.
Jumping on a plane tomorrow and on your way to San Antonio for another game. Here we go.
Yeah,
keep it going. Simone, thanks so much for coming in. I'm glad you're doing fine.
Thank you.
And congratulations. Look forward to seeing you in the finals again this year.
Of course.
From a future Hall of Famer right here to a brand new one. We'll hear from Chris Carter on his Hall of Fame night. That's coming up next. Chris Carter had lost his voice when Michelle Tafoya interviewed him at tonight's Hall of Fame game in Canton, Ohio between Dallas and Miami. He left it at the podium during his emotional 17-minute acceptance speech in Canton last evening. From 1990 through 2001, we all know Carter wore number 80 in purple after the Vikings picked him up for the $100 waiver price from the Philadelphia Eagles. Chris had a lightning rod personality as the years wore on. He earned the respect of the majority of his teammates by his amazing hands and clutch catches on the field, and how he had straightened out his life after almost crashing because of substance abuse with the Eagles. Yeah, Viking fans love CC, and then that 1998 team showed up with Carter alongside rookie Randy Moss, Jake Reed, with Robert Smith in the backfield. Pure dynamite. Carter ran the gamut of it last night, calling it the greatest day of his life.
Time for Chris Carter.
Minnesota Vikings fans, there was never a time in Minnesota I felt uncomfortable. Based on the teammates I played with, 6 guys in the Hall of Fame, 5 of us played in Minnesota. Randall McDaniel, unbelievable left guard, one of the best human beings you could ever meet. Big Zim, left tackle, played with him a few years, never practiced with him at training camp, never wanted to practice. Big Zim, Hall of Famer. Little muscle, Johnny Randall, the hardest working man I ever been around. Warren Moon, who I played only 2 years with, I only caught 244 passes and 24 touchdowns in 2 years from Warren Moon. I've always had good teams around me. And guys, you set a standard. And I appreciate that standard you set going to work. And you guys showed me what it meant to be a pro. And you guys helped me in the transition. You knew I had tremendous issues, but you never held that against me. And I appreciated that now I stand here with you, and I'm forever indebted to you. And when the Vikings acquired me from Philadelphia, like most pro teams, they don't know the intel on the player till they get the paperwork, but they had already had my contract by then. But we, like Whitney, he hooked me up with a good friend of his. Her name is Betty Trilogy, and she happens to be one of the best friends a person could ever have. The reason why, because she didn't teach me how to catch or run routes, but she taught me how I could live a life and have power over my life. And my demons didn't have to always haunt me. And she asked me on September 19th, she said, Chris, can you just not have a drink for 1 week? And since September 19th, 1990, because of Betty Trilogy and Wheelock Whitney, I've been able to keep that program together. And for them, I would not be going into the hall. And I greatly appreciate and I honor them tonight.
Hall of Famer Chris Carter. I'll tell you how badly he wanted to win. Not the best memory for Viking fans, walking off the field after the NFC title loss here against Atlanta in January of '99, and tears were flowing down his face walking off the field with his brother. He knew how special that team was. He knew maybe he had one more shot at Super Bowl, but 41 don't unfortunately took care of that, but he's in the Hall of Fame as he belongs. Chris Carter, congratulations. We'll be back right after this. I want to thank our guests, Ben Gessling of the St. Paul Pioneer Press, and of course, All-Star Simone Augustus of the Minnesota Lynx. And of course, thank you for watching Rosen Sports Sunday. We'll be back again, as we always are, next week following the final round of the PGA Championship. We'll be right here on Channel 4. Until then, good night, everyone.